Well, we are just a couple days after the LCS Mid-Season Showdown Finals. I'm joined right now by Vulcan, with coverage brought to you by Alienware, because during the press conference, he did not get a single question asked of him, and people were in my comments, in my DMs, screaming at me about how rude the media were to Vulcan. So now he gets an exclusive one-on-one interview with me. Good to chat with you, Vulcan. How you been for the past, I guess, 48 hours?
I've been pretty good. I mean, just enjoying being champions, and yeah, it's a pleasure to be here with this exclusive interview with Travis Gafford. It's an honor to have the chance to interview with you.
Well, tell me a little bit about what you said you've been celebrating being champions. What does celebrating being champions mean for you? What does that involve?
I involved watching shows on the couch and eating food and eating ice cream, pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah, that was it.
Were you worried at any point in time that things would get too intense and perhaps the police would be called or you'd end up in some sort of scandal?
Yeah, I had to tell my team to calm down a little bit because I think we were going a bit too wild on the couch. Yeah.
Yeah, the ice cream, I think, in particular, is a dangerous controlled substance. Anyway, no, let's talk about the finals because one of the nice things, oftentimes we do these press conferences and then everybody hasn't even had a chance to process what just happened. But now we're a couple days out, so what do you think of the finals that you played in? Were it was like craziest match you've ever been in, or I don't know if maybe it felt overhyped at the time. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was probably the craziest series I've been a part of. I think the games were like, I mean, I haven't rewatched the games yet, and I'm not sure if I will like before I miss out or anything, but they felt like very back and forth, and there was a lot of action happening, and it was like complete bangers pretty much every single game. So yeah, it was a crazy series to play, and I think the level was probably lower than it would have been if we had played from home, just because of there's a few issues as Ben already discussed during the press conference that we had with on stage, and it was the same for both teams, right? So it's not like um, we were like it was unfair to us or something. It was the same for both teams, so it is what it is. And yeah, I mean the series was a banger. I think I didn't play too well. I think my team had my back this series, and I got MVP of the series last year when we won, and this time I didn't play at my best, and thankfully we were still able to win. So I'm grateful for my team.
Well, I was going to talk to you about this later, but since you brought it up, yeah, I mean, on Hotline League last night, we were talking a little bit about some of the frustrations that you all had, and obviously some of the issues I think with maybe the way the broadcast was presented. But would you have rather have had these finals at home? Because that was something Mark brought up. It's like, okay, obviously the conditions were not ideal. I'm sure you guys would have liked to have not had the sun be an issue and all that stuff, right? But if the options were, because supposedly, and this is I don't nobody's said this publicly on the Riot side, but there's a rumor that like they couldn't have done it indoors, and so this was the best option they had. So, given doing it like you did last year for spring finals or this one, which would you have preferred?
I probably would have preferred doing it from home just for competitive integrity. I think that's the thing that I will rate higher, than anything else. And that's obviously from a player's perspective. I'm sure, like from my point of view, or the fans, like they will probably want it to do on stage, right? But if you're gonna ask me, then it should be from home, just because then it's. I mean, I'll say it's fair for everyone because this one thing I didn't mention, but TL actually did get to like play them the day before, and even though we watched them, I think they also had sort of an advantage where they can get used to the stage more and like be more used to it when they
Put
play
some
against us.
sunscreen on, stuff like
Yeah,
that.
put sunscreen on and get tan and be used to the sun and everything. So yeah, I mean, I think they had a little bit of an advantage there that shouldn't really be given to them, I guess, or I don't know, I can be avoided, right? But playing from home, we would have avoided that and all of the things that happened with the stage. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, moving on because I not that I want to dismiss it, but I know you guys have talked about it some now. So let's talk about Team Liquid and the match itself. What do you think of the way that they performed? Because there's been obviously a lot of discussion about like, well, if they had Santorin, what would have happened, et cetera, et cetera. So, what do you think of TL's performance that day? Do you think it was sort of to the level that you'd seen of them previously?
Yeah, I think TL played a pretty good series, and Greg in particular, I think was impressive. I kind of assumed that he would be more of a liability going into the series, but he was able to hold his own, and like it didn't feel like they were using a sub and we had to target this one person. It wasn't like that. It was just like they were this team, these 5 players, and we play our normal game. And when we were preparing for draft, we were just thinking like even if they put as I would say green, but Armao versus Santorin, we'll still draft in the same way because they can play the same champions. And sure, I mean because the series went to 5 games, maybe if they had Santorin, they would have won. So it's a bad like it really sucks for them, and it blows that didn't get to play with all of their starters, and maybe like people question our win because Santorin wasn't there, and all that. So it's a bad situation to be in, and I feel sorry for them, but we won, and I think they still played pretty well. So it's not like they played like that much worse because of Santorin not being there. They still were able to play well, and we beat them. So
Yeah, I mean,
that's
I
what
haven't
matters.
seen anybody suggesting you guys don't deserve the win or anything like that, but I understand how it's maybe not ideal for anyone because I'm sure you guys would have rather beaten Team Liquid with Santorin on it than Armeo. So going into those games, are there any that particularly stand out to you as like, holy crap? I mean, I know a lot of people talk about Game 5, but and I realize you haven't had a chance to watch them again, but I don't know if there's any like crazy moments for you or just like, oh, I'm going to remember this as like a career standout for our team or just as a game.
I think game 4 there was a moment when Perks hit a bubble on tactical in the river, and then we kind of started making our comeback from there. And it was like out of nowhere. They had like we had not much vision. They were all 5 in the same area, and he was able to snipe like complete headshot tactical, and we were able to follow up and kill him one shot before the fight like kind of broke out, and that turned the game on for us, and that turned the whole series around. So that was a very key moment, and also I mean, like a key moment for that series. I think game 1 was like very, very easily winnable for us, and we kind of ended up throwing. And if we'd won, it might have been like a quick 3-0 series because then we can keep playing Seraphine. But since we lost, we were like not too comfortable on it. We just decided to ban it out for the rest of the series. But if we win that game and we have the confidence to play it again, then it can change the dynamic of the series, and maybe then we see a more one-sided series. But we kind of threw our game 1 lead away, and then it made the series a lot closer than it would have been otherwise, I think.
It certainly feels like, and I commented this previously. I think some other people pointed out that C9 and TL feel like it's becoming, or perhaps have already become, a rivalry. Do you think of them as your biggest rivals? I mean, it doesn't feel like anybody this split was able to really stand toe to toe with you guys other than them.
Yeah, I mean, I would add TSM, I think, to this, the same tier as us. I think they had a pretty good split, and even though they lost, they were like pretty strong contender with us. And yeah, I mean, TL is still our rivals. I think Cortege in particular and the whole team. Like, I mean, Cortege is my biggest competition in NA, and he's like the guy that keeps challenging me and making sure that I have to improve and everything. And I think he's one of the best supports in the world. So it's nice to be able to go, toe to toe with him. And because a lot of the time in NA it's hard to get good practice, but I do get some pretty good practice playing against him. So it's great that he's in NA. And then yeah, I mean, I've been part of C9 for only a year and a half now, but this was the first time in playoffs that we play against Team Liquid. So for me, like I'm not the rivalry TL with Cloud9 isn't too big yet, but like for sure, like the history as an org and the way they play, the playoff went this split, I think it's probably the biggest rivalry we have in North America right now. Yeah.
Well, let's also talk about MSI because you get to go to Iceland. First, are you excited to go to Iceland? Just even outside of the event, right? The fact that I know you guys didn't get to go to Worlds last year or MSI. Even just beyond the fact that I'm sure you want to go compete, getting out of the house and being in another country might be kind of neat.
Yeah, I mean, last year when we won, we didn't know yet if MSI was going to be canceled. So we were like, yeah, we get to travel as a team and compete and play against the top tier teams, and we'll get so much practice from that, and it'll be great. And then boom, MSI is canceled, and then we're like, okay, well, we can still look forward to Worlds. I think this is still going to happen, and we're just like, I mean, I was pretty much assuming that we were going to make it just because the way the year was going for us and how dominant we were. So we expected to be traveling a bit more than we ended up doing during last year. So it's nice to finally, secure our spot at an international tournament and, just travel with the boys and get to play against, we'll play down one in our group. So that's pretty cool. And just scram all the other teams will be very nice.
Do you have too much insight or any insight yet into how that works? I don't know when you're leaving. I know that there's like a likely quarantine situation. So I don't know if you know of any of the logistics.
It's not like decided yet, but we have to leave like at the latest in like 2 weeks time, and then we'll be quarantining for I think it's 6 days or something like that in a hotel. I'm not too sure yet if we'll be able to be quarantining all together, or if it'll be individual. I think it might be together, so that's a lot nicer than it was for the people going at Worlds and being
Yeah.
quarantined alone for 2 weeks. That sounds pretty painful. So that'll be a lot better. And we're looking into maybe going a bit earlier so we can boot camp in Europe, a bit faster. But we're still looking into logistics of it because it's a bit more complicated right now.
Yeah, I wonder. I have no idea what the ping is like from Iceland to anywhere if you're trying to play solo queues. I'm actually realizing that might be kind of interesting. Have you heard anything about that?
I think Price was mentioning that he had a coach on G2 at some time who was from Iceland, and I think he said it was something from like 50 to 60 ping range. So
North America.
pretty similar. Yeah, exactly. We'll be in our prime ping range.
This is our chance. We have everybody else. They're going to go there. They're going to be trying to play solo queue. They're going to be on this crazy ping. We were born and made on this ping.
We were prepared for Iceland MSI, so it'll be a chance to win.
Well, what do you think of North America's chances? Because the normal thing that I'm hearing is like, hey, the match between TL and C9 was not as good skill-wise as the match between like Mad Lions and Rogue, for instance, or whatever. So I'm kind of curious, where do you think LCS stands? Like, should we be considered the underdogs going into this? Do you guys consider yourself the underdogs going in? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, like anytime NA goes into an international tournament, we'll be seen as an underdog, and I think rightly so, right? But I think if there's any team in NA that can go to an international tournament, get shit on by teams in Scrim, and then try to adapt and learn from them, I think that would be us. I think we're a very good team at adapting and learning because of our, we have a pretty good coaching staff, right? We have a lot of smart people on our team, so I think we're the best hope at like going to an international tournament, coming in as a pretty bad team, and then building up to being a really good team and challenging the top teams in the world. I think, I mean, I don't know. My goal is just being able to compete, and if we play against someone, then at least we're in the game and the game looks close instead of just being blown out and slowly losing. I just hope that we go there, have fun, play like just go fight like Blabber play style, and maybe we can win, maybe we won't, but at least there's a chance.
Yeah, it's rather you lose gloriously if you're going to lose, rather than just like slowly have the game taken from you or get stomped, which I think we've seen, unfortunately, in the recent past. I was also kind of curious. I know Perks was very excited about, was hopeful that he'd be able to face G2. Was mentioned that he was bummed that he was going to be able to. Are you at all excited that you don't have to face G2? Because I as like the LCS fan in me is kind of like, well, G2 kind of the scary team that always goes to international events, has all this experience, knows how to deal with all this stuff. Maybe getting a team that has not nearly as much experience, it's like a little bit easier for us to be competitive with them.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more likely that Mad like end up playing at a little lower level than G2 would have if they made the tournament, but it would have been exciting to play against G2. I mean, Mickey X is a pretty legendary support at this point and one of the best in the world, so it would have been nice to play against him, but I don't think Kazer's bad in any way. He's like very, very good in the LEC and is always challenging Illisang and Miki down in the ball. And so it'll be fun to play against them. And I don't know. I mean, I don't really care if they're going to play at a lower level. I mean, it's going to be exciting to play against them. And even if G2 didn't make it, I'm not like hyped that G2 isn't there because it's going to be easier. I think it's just going to be fun to play against everyone,
Yeah, very good. What do you guys do for the next couple of weeks? Because I know you said you might try to get out there kind of early, but obviously I'm sure you want to maintain your edge.
Yeah, I mean, right now we're doing our content day today. And then tomorrow I think I'll go back to solo queue and try to, keep my form and catch up to the new patch because we're a few patches behind other regions right now. So we'll have to, get up to date on that. And yeah, and then we'll just fight there and scrims, and that'll be the most fun part. But right now we're kind of just waiting around and seeing what happens and playing solo queue.
I know that patch change is pretty significant for jungle. Do you feel like it's going to be pretty significant for you?
Pretty much nothing happened for me. It's just like, being aware of which champions actually changed and what's stronger and weaker than it was before. And I mean, it's always important to know what the other champions in other roles does. But for my role, nothing has really changed. And that's been the truth for I feel like over a year now. Support rarely changes. So that's a bit boring. But at least it means that I can, stay at the top. So I'm
Yeah,
fine
yeah,
with that.
exactly. People over there in jungle and other positions trying to rapidly look for what they're doing, and you're like gonna go eat another bowl of ice cream on the couch. Um, well, I'm excited to see how you guys do at MSI. I know many fans are very excited about it. I'm happy that we were able to have a chat beforehand and also just talk about the finals. Is there anything that you want to say to any of the fans out there?
Yeah, thanks to the Cloud9 fans for supporting us. The support is always amazing. Glad we could bring home a trophy again, second this time with Cloud9 during my time with the team. So that's pretty nice. And I hope you guys are excited for MSI because we are pretty confident going to it. So
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for the interview again. I really do appreciate it. Hopefully, not taking too much of your relaxation time on your content day. But thank you so much. And for everyone else, you can check out the rest of my coverage of all things LCS right here on my YouTube channel. These days, everybody's talking about Wild Rift this, Wild Rift that. And you know what's actually wild? The amazing performance you can get with Alienware computers with NVIDIA graphics cards in them. You can go check them out over at alienware.com/Travis, and you can use Travis 10 off to save 10%. Also wild that you can do that. They've got some fantastic stuff, including the Alienware M15R4. We love Alienware. Thank you so much for sponsoring my content, and we'll catch you next time.